This conference will now be recorded.
what would the typical specific question be?
Mostly, it's got some, they provide 48 one-way trips a year. I know some clients with Blue Cross Blue Shield, they'll call us and say, we're going to provide 3 months of transportation for this client. Can you take care of that? Just send us a bill, and then we'll work it that way.
So I guess the question then is, with the insurance company,
Usually they do not.
they do not, they pay full.
They pay in full. And typically those that after the fact, we write off the rest. Because we don't want to put that burden on you.
And if I hear you correctly, you're not working with the, currently with the brokers, Medicaid brokers?
We do not.
You can't change.
Now, I say we do not. I do work with 5, and because they pay our current rates. There are Medicaid brokers who only want to take pennies on the dollar. And, we can't deal with those. Yeah, so we can't maintain
You get the
operations.
choice rider, we get everybody else.
Right. We're hoping to change that. Once we can begin to bill Medicaid and get a little bit of a higher reimbursement, then hopefully that will change.
Okay. So what does your fleet look like in South County? You're out of there.
They come back and forth. We spend a lot of time here in Parker Heights because we serve Seton and Clear Sky and 2 other nursing facilities here. We have a couple of clients that we do for a broker in Colonial.
And your seating capacity?
It depends. We only like to carry 1 to give that patient the privacy, but we can do 3 ambulatory
So
patients.
you're not doing shared rides?
Not typical. But we will if they're coming from same place, going to the same destination, at least same area. A lot of times for us, it's just, we don't want to, if one is sick and not knows it, then potential to get someone else sick.
I'll probably reach out to you. I'm the general manager of the POP,
Okay.
the Country Transit District.
Okay, awesome.
And I think there's potential opportunity. I'd just like to pick your brain.
Sure.
This guy needs to come back and join our board.
We've had folks that need to get out of, or from Hamilton and need to go to dialysis. We would provide a lot of those trips. We're no longer going to do that outside of our, because a lot of those will go to Stephenville, Brownwood,
Right.
places. So we want to make sure people still have an opportunity to ride. But it's not just Hamilton, it's Hamilton, Mills, San Saba. There's better ways, I think, for us to be taught and leverage each other's capacities. So
Sure.
we can all become more effective.
Right. We would love to be able to help. And that's what we're working with other providers. We're actually bringing other providers in, and we're doing all their training, wheelchair and patient securement, customer service, all the aspects of vehicle safety, patient safety. So we teach them that, so no matter if it's us or someone else, the care is seamless. Transportation is seamless, the securement is seamless. So it's the same across the board, no matter which provider.
Is the mileage reimbursement like the state rate, or?
I've been told it's less. So we charge $3 per mile. And when we bill insurance companies, we get it. They don't offset it.
Thank you, sir.
I'll be here afterwards if anybody else has any questions.
Appreciate it. Next, my agenda item number 8, discussion regarding fiscal year 22-26 RCTP updates.
few of the strategies we have here. And you can look at your pathway, maybe it'll be easier to see there. But, some of the strategies revolving around improving coordination with local leaders, city governments, and so on, as well as the transportation summit strategy. So both of that, continuing off the transportation summit we held, I think, April of last year, we made that Central Texas Transportation Resources document, that we shared with everyone that we were able to collaborate on and have new tools, new resources, and outdated grants and stuff. I followed up with another survey, and in your packets, we have the results of those surveys. So we got 12 responses out of our attendees, I think 35 or 40 or so. But just asking questions like, have you developed any new partnerships with organizations who work on transportation needs? 83% of them said yes, they have developed new partnerships. Have there been any new needs identified for the population we serve or work with? About 75% said yes, they did have new needs for those populations. And we asked, are there any new projects that affect transportation service for users? About half said yes. And then have you attended any new meetings, workshops, and society focused on public transportation services? So we have 2/3 of them say yes, they have attended new meetings or workshops related to public transportation service. To get more into the responses for those, as far as partnerships developed, some response people said Fort Cavazos, DPW, and Heart Texas Defense Alliance. One was more local, city, EDC partnering to redo, widen the street for thoroughfare. K-Tempo was mentioned in the hop several times. Driving Hope, United Way, Brazos Valley. As far as new needs, it was mentioned working on ramps and off ramps to SH9 and King Square Boulevard. There's talk about safety. Somebody wrote business, employee, public transportation, which is like employer-sponsored routes, kind of the TMAs that we discussed in the past. And Head Start, I don't know if this is you, Janelle, we into this one, this Head Start parents, and mentioning if you go to Head Start centers to be a regular stop on route certain local areas. Again, issues with medical appointments, but this has been improved since learning of resources in the area. Somebody mentioned applying for transportation funding for veterans of TBC, because our main project right now, staff is working on the application for the TBC General Assistance Grant. We're looking to kind of develop a bus pass program for veterans with the hub. So we're applying for that, and that's due by December 4th. And if we get that, we'll see how we structure that. Other responses about projects being worked on with that transportation service, like the rail, intermodal, and truck service using public-private partnership at Fort Cavazos, widening streets, and then other people mentioned like expanding home delivery.
What was the rail? Sorry, what was the rail?
I think that might have been the Heart of Texas Defense Alliance, the multimodal facility at the rail at Fort Cavazos. So I'm not sure quite how that interacts with public transportation, because that's really just
In the military base?
Yeah. So the western railhead. And we have some more responses that you can see in there. How can sitcom staff or like Hill Country Transit District assist with your projects that are going on? Some responses were assisting and supporting additional studies, engineering for projects, finding funding for local streets in partnership with TxDOT, share nonprofit efforts that are needing funding for transportation solutions, and assisting those nonprofits in setting up ways to measure outcomes for success. See routes to accommodate. That's the 4C again, accommodating the 4C Head Start centers. And yeah, that was most of kind of the feedback that we received as far as how we can assist them. And other resources that aren't from staff or from the hub, as far as like technical assistance, tools, policies, funding. Virtually everybody said funding and volunteers. So that's really, of course, the biggest concern. And actually, along with the TBC grant that we're applying for that project, that's most of it on the staff end. And I know Raymond has available a little bit of strategies like we talked with Daryl, but really, since the microtransit intersects with a lot of strategies, which are really just trying to expand service to elderly, expanding our populations, and expanding the time of service. I guess you could just kind of give a general update on where we're at as far as like the RFPs you have out. We know the zones will be established in May of next year, and what all the entities and agencies and people can do to be a part of that whenever it's implemented, and how we can facilitate it with populations we serve.
Yeah, sure. So we're making great progress. I'm sure Daryl's probably already informed this group that in addition to the 9 counties and the 5 cities that we're serving, we signed a contract with Fort Cavazos to provide a on-base microtransit service that also includes a circulator to make sure that it's hitting all of the main areas on base that active duty and family members can access. It's the first of its kind in the country. It has visibility all the way to the Pentagon. They signed a 10-year agreement. The first year is a pilot year, and if it goes well, then they will program in funding for the service. The benefit of that to the region is that in addition to the services that we provide on base, it'll have a connection to this regional commuter bus service that we're going to be running from Cove. It'll have at least one stop in each city. So Cove, Parker Heights, Queen, we'll have one for the Melville area, Belton, and Temple, with multiple stops to make sure that we're getting all the medical facilities, and then likely we haven't decided where the ends of the commuter service will be in Coppers Cove and Temple, but we're starting to have conversations with them about where that might be, what's the most desirable location for that. The Santa Fe Plaza would be a great place because we already have Amtrak coming in there. There might again be multiple stops at the VA hospital, at the square downtown, and then over to Santa Fe and back out. But those are conversations that we'll have with city staff and council. The benefit to that is it'll create a service that actually creates similar to like rail. You'll have stops in each one of the cities. We're trying to reach a 30-minute frequency, although right now we're budgeted to hourly frequency. That's much better than we have today. Today, if you're in Cove and you want to get to the VA hospital, you have to hop on 4 different routes, and it can take you 2.5 hours to get there. And if the timing isn't perfect, then you're going to be waiting a long time. So it can really be a full-day trip. Even with that, we still carry tens of thousands of people a year on that service. So we think this will be a massive upgrade. As we start designing that route, we're actually behind. We can start with virtual, what we'll call mobility hubs, which is an opportunity for each city to really think about doing public-private transportation development around these centers. So we want to make sure that we're working with each city to identify what are the best locations. Central Texas College is a potentially great location, but picking the right location on campus, and are there sidewalks, are there trails, how do we connect different types of mobility into each one of these locations so that microtransit can efficiently move somebody over to a transportation connection to this regional bus service that will be running pretty frequently. And now people, as you can imagine, will be able to get on a microtransit vehicle in Cove or in one of our cities and transport it to this commuter service that's going to connect the entire region together. So that launch is planned for May. We won't have all the capital development put together, but this is one of the things that I want to make sure that we're coordinating with this body, with K-Tempo, looking at doing some planning studies around where's the best location ultimately, how do we tie hike and bike trails in, how do we make sure sidewalks and other infrastructures in place to really make this as effective and as efficient as possible. So the timeline is for Cavazos, they had a requirement is, hey, we're happy to be part of this. We want to have integration into this regional system. So they're paying a fee for every hour of service we deliver. There's a $10 connection fee or impact fee to the region. And so that's going to generate about $500,000 a year in local funds that we can use to help support this transportation network that we're building. Because they want their active duty personnel and families that live on base to have a better quality of life, not only on the base, but to access all the great cities and things that we have to offer in the region. So that's the benefit. It will connect, it'll come off base to connect to the connector service or this regional connector. And so in February, we'll launch the microtransit system on base with the circulator. March will be the actual ribbon cutting ceremony when it goes live. So the difference between February and March is we kick it off. We're going to probably have some folks that start using it so we can work out all of the challenges we might have. People won't have an expectation that it works perfectly. It's not Uber, it's not Lyft, it's a shared ride, but it's similar to it. And it will be more or less curb to curb. So February, March are two kickoffs and so we will operate that or progress that simultaneously with our launch for the region that's currently planned for May. The biggest challenge we're having is securing vehicles. There's, just because of the strikes and everything else out there, finding minivans or vans that are going to be the size and shape and configuration we need is going to be a challenge. So that's probably the only thing that's going to potentially push the May date out to maybe June or July. So that's kind of where we are at this point. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So the cost for the military personnel will be paid inside the base?
That is correct.
Once you go outside the base, how does that, is there a fee structure?
They'll pay a fee just like everybody else will to ride. We are looking at the rates that we charge. The Country Transit District hasn't changed its rate in 30 years. You can imagine. So all the inflation and cost of living and everything else that's impacted our economies over the last 30 years, the Country Transit District has never raised the rates to my knowledge. So we're going to have to take a look at that, and we'll be in discussions with the board to go through a public. So this is all intended, but we have to go through a Title VI and public process to get input from the general public and make sure that we're doing everything according to the FTA and state rules and regs. So we will engage the community. We're going to be engaging all of our cities. Really starting next month, we'll start having charrettes with all the cities to look at the service area boundaries to make sure that we're not leaving out a high school or a junior high or elementary or a doctor's office that we need to serve. We are not going to provide coverage over the entire boundaries of the city. We're financially constrained, so we're going to focus on is the area that was covered by bus service, plus some more geography. The difference is you won't have to walk and stand out at a bus stop. The vehicle will actually come to wherever you are. So if you're in a coffee shop or doctor's office or whatever, or at home, you can continue to be productive. You can be sheltered in place until the vehicle shows up, and you'll be able to track it and see when it's going to arrive. You'll see a picture of the driver, license plate, so you know where to go to get picked up. One of the things that we're going to be doing with this system is the software will enable us to really become a broker of mobility as opposed to just a mobility provider. And so one of the things we're including into all of this is an Uber and Lyft integrated platform. So we're going to go away from what's called deadhead and headways and time at a bus stop when it's supposed to be there to a level of expected wait time. So we're going to try to make sure that the customer experience is if you ask for a ride, you should wait no more than about 30 minutes to get that ride. If there is not a vehicle that we can provide, we'll have integration with Uber and Lyft, and at least for ambulatory folks, we'll be able to dispatch. You won't know the difference. You're going to ask for a ride, somebody's going to come up and pick you up. It may be one of our vehicles, it might be Uber, it might be Lyft, it might be other companies that we're working with 791 and the COG to program into this, companies like Dia and Downtowner and UServe and maybe even the gentleman and his service over there. So we do non-emergency medical, we do paratransit, we do just about every type of transportation service, not only in the 5 cities and the military base, but now over the 9,000 square miles that we're trying to cover. So we're going to be pulling back on some of our rides. We've already made that decision. We've talked to the brokers for a lot of the non-emergency medical transport that we're doing out of Hamilton and Mills and San Saba outside of our region. We're likely not going to be doing those anymore. So somebody needs to step up and provide that service. That's why I'll be talking to you. Because again, we have only a finite amount of money and resources, and if we have a vehicle that has to leave Hamilton and go 4 hours or 3 hours out of town, that vehicle and that driver are not available to provide transportation within our region. And the state funds that we get are to provide not specific services, but general population, first come, first serve requests for rides. So we do non-emergency medical because we had or have vehicles that are already going in those directions, but that's not the primary responsibility or focus of the transit system. It's to carry as many people as we can with the dollars that we have available.
So the 5 cities you mentioned, Temple, Belton, Hillary, Harper, Nolanville, but what about Coppersville?
No, Copper's Cove. No, Nolanville is not one of the contributing members, they're not on our board, but they're on the corridor, and they are part of the of the Killeen UZA, and we do serve them now with our. We have 2 bus stops on each side of the highway, so we want to continue to have that service and connection because they are part of Bell County, so that makes sense to have it.
So Nolanville is going to be still part of it.
Nolanville will likely have a stop on the side. They won't be part of the microtransit system initially because they're not a contributing member. But they do have access. If they can get to the bus stop, we'll likely have them there if they want to get on.
So will there be, you mentioned like kind of like a soft launch February, March timeframe, will there be a duplication of services where you keep the routes that are going right now at the same time, or do you pull all those?
We're not intending to do that because it gets really confusing. I've done that in other places across the state of Texas. And what happens is you have the folks that really don't want to get rid of their bus service that until the day that the bus service goes away, they'll stay on that bus. They're not transitioning over to the bus service. And so we found that kind of ripping the Band-Aid off, getting the public awareness out there as fast as we can, make sure that we have plenty of people that are available to assist through our call center, have download the app. We'll do a lot of public communication.
So
it's real simple.
Even when you do the basic soft launch, is what we call it, February, March timeframe.
That's for the military base.
So that's
on the military base to make sure that
but then when you kick off in April, May timeframe, all the fixed route will stop.
Yeah, we haven't decided that yet. I need to talk to the board about that. We may have a couple of weeks of overlap just to notify people that the service is going away. Be downloading your app, that sort of thing. And the service will stop. But we're not going to be running it parallel for nine weeks or 90 days. That just is not, it's counterproductive.
Is there funding to help, with helping our seniors and individuals with disabilities, on downloading that and using it?
Is there what? I'm sorry.
Some sort of training, like to help individuals,
Yeah, we'll have a public outreach, public communications process. We'll start, what we're waiting on is to select the actual platform that we're going to use. So there's a lot of different providers that we can use for the back office software that's going to do all this brokerage of trips. And each one of them have branded information about how to download the app. I think it's like 5 easy steps, right? Download the app, call this number for a ride if you don't have a smartphone. And then we'll set up a series of training, just like we do with mobility training today, to go to senior centers. We'll have anybody that asks for special training, we'll go out and make sure that people know how to access the information. We'll also work with every one of our cities, public libraries, anywhere where people can come in. We'll have the ability to access through a web portal to access the service. So you walk into the police station, you can really go online and book a ride for you. So that's kind of the intent. It's really accessible to folks that don't have smartphones. If you have a smartphone, it's really easy to download. Go into the App Store, Apple or Android, download the app, and you sign up. Just the template, what you do for anything. You sign up, register yourself, and book a ride. It's really that, it takes you less than 5 minutes to start that process.
so do we see, any concerns on our population is sort of concerned with the use and transition of app technology?
Some of our consumers they just struggle sometimes with smart apps and smartphones, so like George was saying with the training, even, Hospital can help train some of the disabled communities that might be struggling with downloading the app, or loading their information. We have some apps that we do right now that the state requires, and they have difficulty.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, we can, as long as there's clear step-by-step instructions.
But then it's also limited to the option to call.
Yeah, you can call in.
Okay,
You
well,
can call.
that's good, yeah. You don't necessarily have to use the app, you can call to the hop.
Just like you do today, you can call the hop and say, I need a ride. Let's say, where are you? You identify the location. You're going to have a dispatcher that can literally see the map, zoom in, and say, okay, we'll dispatch a vehicle, should be there in 10 or 15 minutes. Here's the license plate, and look, shape, look at the car. Your driver's name will be whatever, and
So this
just wait for
also replaces special trains that like door to door that they do now.
Yeah, thank you for that. One of the benefits to the region and to the agency from a cost perspective is we're gonna do what's called co-mingling. So all the different services, non-emergency medical, paratransit, we'll have, I don't think that the entire fleet will be wheelchair accessible. But I mean, you go to a parking lot at HCTD and there's 10% of the parking spots that are wheelchair accessible. So the intent is to make sure that we have enough accessibility vehicles to address the demand. And then they'll just really, the software will be intelligent enough based on demand to start building in real time what the optimum number of people are for a particular trip, so we can leverage the capacity of vehicles. The biggest problem with paratransit services is the most costly, most inefficient, because you're typically driving a long way, and the average across America is about 1.5 people per trip. So if you're looking at that trip and it's multiple hours, it's not very efficient or cost effective.
But these would be like a minivan or whatever kind of vehicle.
It's gonna be like a Ford Transit
Yeah,
to
that just goes right to
minivan.
them.
Mostly will be Ford Transits because that's what we can get our hands on.
So if they're in the app, they would just check that they need an accessible vehicle.
Yes, when they register themselves, if they
Okay.
need special vehicles or assistants or whatever, they'll put all that in their registration. The system will know who they are based on their specific needs and dispatch the right type of equipment to be able to pick them up.
So they can check like deaf, blind, all that.
Yes. Because in those cases, they're ambulatory.
Right, yeah.
And so there's a lot of different ways for us to serve them. And the system will look, and if for whatever reason you're having to wait 45 minutes, because there's not enough equipment available,
Right.
we will, when we launch this in May or June, whenever the time frame makes sense, when we launch it, that's day one. We're going to continue to perfect the system over time.
Right.
So what I mean by perfecting the system is we will continuously look for third-party partners to grow the network. They'll have to fit in the cost profile to make sure that it's affordable, but we want to make sure that we're providing mobility, not a hot driver, but mobility to people that need it within an expected time frame. So if we're going from 30 minutes to 45 minutes in a particular township or a city, we may go to that city and say, hey, 3 vehicles isn't enough. We're apportioning some dollars in every municipality for integration with Uber and Lyft, but they have to pay for that. The city or some combination have to make sure that we have enough federal, state, and local dollars to pay for it. And then if we're growing beyond that, if average wait time in let's say Harker Heights is an hour, then we're going to have to address that with the city council and say we need to add more vehicles, more Uber, more Lyft, more something, or your township is just going to experience hour wait times. But we want to make sure that that's coordinated and people understand what they're getting for their money and so on.
This is going to be a much better solution for a lot of our consumers other than the regular standard bus route. So I'm excited for y'all to.
I've been deploying these all over the country and everybody loves them.
Yeah.
The other benefit is we've talked for over a year now, we haven't done it yet, but we're going to likely create a transit management association. What that will allow is a TMA is much like a neighborhood association. It will be a nonprofit where businesses and nonprofits can create a board. They can fund the TMA. The TMA can then turn around and contract or fund the transit system. So if you're HEB and you have folks that live in Harker Heights and work in Temple, that need to get folks up there, HEB could say, hey, we have a $50,000 or $100,000 that we want to put toward van pools. Van pools is another thing that we're going to be looking at in the future. It's subject to funding that's available where folks can sign up for van pools. So we're really trying to focus on how do we move as many people in our region as effectively and efficiently as we can. And we're going to stop thinking about it just being the hop and hop drivers. We're going to be thinking about this, how do we leverage all the different providers that are out here that have seat capacity available, that are going in the same direction, that if they got a trip request, they could either accept it or deny it. So we won't force Ride Safe to take a trip, but if they want to and can, we'd like for them to be part of the network.
I think it's great. I'm excited to see how it goes.
Great.
As you're working with your software providers, just make sure that, I know we already have an app that our parents are trained on. We need to be able to stick your link in there so that they can access it from what they're already used to. So just make sure that it's.
Well, I can't promise that. That's a lot of third-party integration because you're talking about your app, and I'm sure everybody has an app. What the software does have is what's called an open API, which is basically the ability, they share their integration app so that your software provider can integrate into that service. But there's no one software app that meets everybody's needs for everything. So we're going to.
But just a link to get there.
Sure, yeah, we can certainly do that. Yes.
Yes, you had mentioned that vehicle inventory is issue right now. Do you know what the minimum inventory that you need to keep your launch dates, your soft launch dates?
Yes,
Thank you.
yeah, we know how many vehicles we need, it's just a matter of being able to source them. Not to, just so that we can continue the meeting, there's just challenges nationwide in even the chassis, like for a third party to build a vehicle, take a van and off of any lot. And Ford doesn't manufacture a wheelchair equipped vehicle, they manufacture a van and a chassis. And then third parties have to take those and retrofit them, configure them in the right way. The chassis that these folks buy to create these vehicles are just not readily available. We go to all of our, everybody's in the same boat. It's not just our issue. It's nationwide. There's a shortage of just supply chain issues. And then this whole thing with the GM and Chrysler and all of their third parties that were striking has also put a negative impact on availability of some of this equipment to actually manufacture and deliver vehicles. So it's created a backlog. There's backlogs on every type of bus and just about every type of vehicle that's necessary. And in order to get those, we have to use federal and state dollars. When we use federal and state dollars, they have to be wheelchair equipped. We can't just go down the street and buy a minivan. So that's the challenge. We have to match the federal and state dollars that we have. We have to buy the right type of equipment, and that equipment has to be available. And that's the challenge.
But you were
Thank
saying you don't need each one to be wheelchair equipped, is that correct?
We don't, but in order to buy them, the money that we have available to buy them is federal dollars.
So you could take a donation of some that maybe were pretty good, but
Yeah.
they were a little old?
Yes, ma'am.
Because we're in the process of updating our fleet, and so I needed to know what to do with my old 2004s and 5s that are still running. So we might have to donate some?
We're gonna pull out all stops.
Okay.
We're gonna talk to TxDOT to see if they know of other folks that need.
Well,
that have
all I have
vehicles.
to do is get permission from the feds. I can tell them that they're not worth X number of dollars.
Well, even if they have useful life on them, 2005 they don't, so you don't have any more federal
Right.
interest in them. You can
I still have
transfer
to get
them over.
permission.
Now, we need to make sure that they're capable of operating.
Well, they're operating now.
Okay.
During the summer, we had a lot of plastic cables and windows break just because it was so hot and real, but it didn't take much to fix those.
I mean, we want to make sure that
They're safe. Good.
they're safe and that
Not gonna cost you a lot.
the branding of our product is important as well. So we just want to make sure that they're operating and not, anyway,
Not junk.
not junk.
I promise not junk.
Thank you.
Some of us who are old are not junk.
I completely agree with that. I'm in that category.
I do too.
All right, that's probably more information than you wanted, but I just want to make sure you have it.
It's great.
Okay, thank you.
I was just going to have a question about the virtual mobility hubs that you mentioned. Not just about how that will work.
So if there's no infrastructure, so virtual hubs is where you can pick any location, a hospital, a coffee shop, and we're not designating that coffee shop as a place for 20 people to wait for a bus. But we can pick a location anywhere and say, and this is where we'll work with planners or city officials and say, where would you like for us to put that hub? And it may be the Walmart, in front of the Walmart, or on the edge of the parking lot will be where the location is where we pull in and out. So Cove as an example, we have a bus stop. We may have a bus stop there, we may not have a bus stop there, right? You don't have to have infrastructure in place, Because people can literally watch, and they'll be able to see the commuter buses as well, when they're actually supposed to ride. They'll literally be able to count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So if you're in the Walmart and it's a 5-minute walk and it's 10 minutes away, you probably need to walk over and wait for the bus to pick you up. If it's a transfer of, the difference between just using the software to get picked up at the curb is different than a transfer point, where you're going to transfer from a fixed route system, in this case the commuter network, and any vehicle that's trying to connect to it. Okay? So a physical hub would be where we actually have a facility, shelter, trails, everything integrated into it. We're not going to have those initially, so we'll create virtual hubs where people can transfer. Does that make sense?
And one last thing, Daryl mentioned about the RFPs, that they have somebody selected for their required around early December, that time frame.
And that's correct. We're working through 791 and the COB. We finished the evaluations, I believe just yesterday, they signed off, so thank you for that. We're doing phone interviews with folks, so we're planning on having our vendor selected for the software initially, before my guess would be early December, and then we'll have them, we still have to do contracts and best and finals and all that other stuff and negotiate pricing, so that'll probably happen in December, so that in January, we already have, I think we're scheduling meetings with some of the cities already to start having charrettes about what does the service area look like, starting January.
All right, great.
All right, thank you so much. We're gonna move on to item number 9. Springfield Transit District Quarterly Report, Mr. Donovan.
All right, so I'll just do this briefly, very briefly, since Daryl's not here. All the performance summary measures that you see in your packet, fixed route, paratransit, EDA, customer complaint, safety performance, Office has met all of them. The only one exception being the fixed route ridership, the goal being 10 passengers per service hour, it's 9. I think that may be a bit higher than it's been in the past. That's usually our top line is the broker system, and then obviously it's impacting that as well. So, you could scroll through the rest of the quarterly report for anyone who wants to know that, but that's it.
Sure, moving on to item number 10, discussion item regarding discussion of transportation needs and gaps for special populations.
So this is our usual finance agenda item. Where we discuss it's open for everybody as our tab to discuss unmet needs, gaps, or inefficiencies for following special populations. So people with low income, disabled, unemployed, 65 and older, veterans. So if there's any new needs you're seeing or something that you feel needs to be addressed, and maybe a special project of some type, let staff know here or by email.
Well, did you say our next meeting is in February?
Yes.
But can we not hear before how they're doing with Port Cavazos as a pilot?
Well, that'll be happening around
Okay.
Yeah, and then March is the official opening for that.
Okay.
We've deployed these
Yeah.
all over the country, and they're gonna work. There's no questions going.
Yeah.
Whether it's the technology and everything's gonna work, it does. This is not innovation, it's application. Do all of your folks that need transportation, do they fall in these categories? Okay.
Would like to draw your attention to, in particular, the individual 65 and older living assisted living centers. That would be having people go in there and assist in getting the app in, explain the system to them, especially because they're for the most part allowed to leave the building, but they're on transportation. A lot of them some of them were on bus lines, of course, may not be there, but we cannot do that. Also, veterans at the veterans home in Temple, they have very limited access to certain things. all that you see, getting to the water, they're going to traffic because they can't get out.
So I'm going to suggest that the HOP coordinate or facilitate a meeting of nonprofits, and we do a train-the-trainer program. We have one individual at the HOP. There's no way that they're going to be able to get everywhere between now and May. And if they start now, people won't remember come May on how to do it. So I think if we work with all the nonprofit agencies, we train everybody. It's gonna be real simple. It's like slides. Okay, everybody get out their phone. Let's go do this. If you have a phone, you know, a lot of folks think that the unhoused don't know how to use technology, don't have phones. They do. The majority of them do, because all of their benefits and everything that they do typically is on a phone, not a computer. They don't have access to computers, and most of them have access to phones. We are not unique in the state of Texas and in the country where people typically use these. Migrant workers, you know, everybody does everything using their phone. Now, there's going to be a lot of folks that may, not a lot, you'll have some portions of the population that cognitively they can't use a phone. Well, that's why we're going to have the ability to call a 1-800 number and get a ride. We'll need to work with all of our partners in the cities and nonprofits to make sure that you have our phone number and you need to assist somebody to get a ride, that you call in on their behalf, and it's a concierge service, if you will, and they book a trip, or you book it for them online. So that's kind of how this is going to work. But what I find is it's typically just, there's natural barriers to anything, and the one that is the biggest barrier is the unknown, and they're scared and they don't know how. And once a person is trained, I have an 84-year-old mother-in-law who blows up my phone constantly. She's surfing and sending emojis and bitmojis and everything else, and we wish we'd have never taught her how to do that, because she goes crazy with it. So people can learn if they don't have a disability and how to use it. And in those cases, they're going to be more corner cases than they are the norm. And we'll just need to make sure that, just like you do today, you'll have to help them get their ride. And as the communities that we live in, everybody's going to have to help them find a way on the transit system.
I do want to report for our agency, our two vendors that we contracted with are no longer included by the launch system. We've been notified of that. It's a concern I have, and you know, I have funding for some transportation services, but you know, the vendors are not sustaining themselves. So industry-wide, you know, if you have funding but we don't have viability with providers, is that a concern?
Well, I think it's an opportunity.
Okay.
It's an opportunity, which is why I think the Transit Management Association is a really needed thing. We need to have all of our nonprofit organizations that deal with or have a need, basic needs. A mother that has children, the reason most of them can't work, they don't have access to transportation. They don't have access to childcare. Those are two major reasons. Veterans that wind up homeless, typically something very similar to that. Transportation, lower income, people with disabilities, that whole list. One of the top 2-3 priorities is I don't have a way to get where I need to go. Even for basic getting out of the cold. People die because they don't have transportation to get out of the cold, to get to a shelter. Okay? So you all have money. The thing that we lack most as a transit agency to deliver any of these trips that you're talking about is lack of local funds. Lack of local funds. So Workforce Commission, biggest challenge they have helping people find jobs. The reason they can't stay employed, they don't have access to transportation. So we can provide transportation, we just don't have enough local funds. This is the first time in the history of this transit agency that I'm aware of where every participant is actually going to be paying in some portion of local funds. And it has been incredibly challenging for the commissioners, for the judges of each county to go ask to find $25,000, $30,000. You have wealthy ranchers and developers and everybody living in the community. They'll sponsor $50,000 for a golf tournament without batting an eye. But we have not created, jointly, we have not created a way to take those contributions and turn them into transportation, because transportation is a really important thing for most of our communities.
One of the ideas that I've been approached with, and it wasn't my idea, I wish it had been, but for seed money, a lot of times are just a level of local funding to work with your area chambers of commerce, because this is growing fast and businesses are wanting to come in here. And if your chamber would say, well, yes, we'd love to have you, but first you have to pay into the local fund to support transit services or children's services or whatever. That's something I'm looking at, because schools have run out of places to donate to me to operate, and I'm losing 10 classrooms in Temple and a central kitchen because they need to sell the school building that we've been in for 20 years.
I can tell you in another state, I'm the executive director of the Transportation Management Association. And we've raised $4 million of private funding from businesses to provide a microtransit system that's free, because it's that important to that community. And we're in our second year of funding, and now we're starting to get state funds, and now the transit system is going to stop doing paratransit because the microtransit is able to do it, and they're going to put $1 million in. So we've been able to parlay. We started with $1 million less than a year ago. We're up to $4 million now, because this is we have the capacity within this room to start thinking through how to leverage each little piece of funding. You know, George says, hey, we have $50,000, but I need to provide service to all the elderly across the 9,000 miles. I obviously can't do that. But you have money, Workforce Commission has money, we have, there's little bits of money that we just need to pick up and put into a pot, and we need an avenue to do that. And we need to have a seat at the table, just like we have a seat at the table here. We need one very similar like this, but with a TMA that's made up of nonprofits and businesses that have needs.
No, I don't have money, but I got vehicles.
You don't have money, but you have vehicles. You know? Okay. You have money to pay for passes, though, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We can do that.
Move on to our contact sheet, please update your information. Item number 11, I'm sorry. Update your information with Dominic and staff. Any changes, please let them know. Anyone else have anything for the good of the group? If not, thank you all for attending. Happy holidays. See y'all in February.
Several years ago, there was we talked about training the trainers. I wasn't able to go, but where folks went on the hop. Did you do that one?
No, I didn't go, but Michelle did. They did a ride.
Did a ride, and we could learn how, the whole system. Is that a possibility to do that again? Because I think for me, I would be able to better explain it to the folks that I'm working with. And I'm the doctor with Melissa with those disabilities. And we work a lot with the youth transitioning to the adult world and transportation, just like you said. They want to work and be productive, but they can't get there. Or they go to a day half, and they can't get there because of transportation. But I just didn't know if that was possible to have something like that.
Absolutely. And we have somebody dedicated to that sort of training. I'm really excited kind of where we are at this point. We're just about ready to bring on our technology partners. And that's gonna be real fast. I mean, they've done hundreds of these deployments. The top companies that we're looking at have done many of these, so they can be up and running in less than 90 days. That, it's a lot of work on our part to make that transition happen. But during this time frame, we need to start setting up some infrastructure. And what I mean by that is we need to all partner together and figure out, can we get a group of people of all of the nonprofits together? It would be a heck of a lot more efficient for us to train everybody if we were here and everybody follow the 3 or 4 slides that we're going to show you how to download the app. It's not going to be hard. I'm telling you, it's as easy as downloading the app on your phone, opening up the app, putting in your name, your address, your information, a credit card if you have it. If not, you're going to pay through a pass. We can show you how to do that real easily. And then your app today, if you're using any maps, anything, it's going to let you know where you are. So you don't have to put your address in. You already know your location. And then you just decide where you want to go. And you put in the address. And there's a drop-down feature, so we'll try to populate as many as we can. The Walmarts, or grocery stores, or pharmacies, we'll put all that in there to make it easy for a drop-down. And you select where you want to go and you request a ride.
What I was meaning was the actual ride itself, like going on an actual ride to experience
Sure.
from Cove to Temple, like where those stops are. Is that okay?
Well, again, we're not going to have stops. Stops are everywhere. Stops pretty much anywhere and everywhere you want to go. So it's going to take a little bit of mental shift, right?
So they'll no longer stop at like the UMHB bus or the different places where we see them around at Walmart and kind of.
Yeah, you won't need to.
Okay.
If you want to walk there and request a ride, so you're out of the rain, you can do that. You can step in the building and request a ride and do it for you come and pick you up.
Well, really think this group could probably take on the task of the training in a way, because a lot of us are already here. We may know some others. For instance, we could share that information with the United Ways. Their agencies could be invited here to do that. I'm not probably going to come. I'm going to send my family and community workers.
Sure.
Case manager.
That's the point. If we can find a way, the catalyst to get all the right folks here.
You may reach out to United Way. They do community connections every third Wednesday, and they invite different agencies or vendors to do presentations. So that might be a good way to have your businesses and communities at one location.
Or I could do that for them.
Yeah.
Because I go to those meetings.
Okay. Because there's a lot of agencies and nonprofits and businesses that go to the United Way Community Connection meeting that they started doing.
Well, that's
Third Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah, going in Temple.
Not as easy to get to.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be the most efficient way to do this is try to bring, maybe we do a couple of meetings in different areas, but just try to bring as many as we can to the meeting to answer as many questions as we can. That's kind of the first booster shot, if you will, or the shot. And then if we train as many people as we can, there's going to be questions and all things. But if I try to take James, 4 guys probably going to quit on us and say, oh, go train everybody between now and May on how to do this and schedule meetings, that's just not going to work.
I was doing because I am involved with the Homeless Coalition. I got my own coalition, so I can get you, I can host here, and I can do 3 or 4 training sessions here, all that time. It should be no more than an hour.
But
So
I think because so many people already work with K-Tempo and the COG, I think this would be really helpful to us if you guys could help us gather them, communicate with them, gather them.
just tell us the time of the day and we'll coordinate. I think that's not, we've got the networks already in place.
So my guess is probably March, the March timeframe. So it's not too early for people to forget. And it's not too late so we can get in front of this fast enough. So I'm thinking the month of March, month of April, we're doing as much training and getting the message out as possible. The software vendor, the suppliers, and our staff are gonna be really nose down into making sure that all of this technology and everything's populated, that we're hiring people, buying vehicles, all that stuff. We don't have time to train, and it's gonna be too early to do it before probably March time.
So we'll coordinate with you on setting that up.
Fantastic.
March early.
Yeah. March, April, all the way up to the launch date, which will probably be mid-May. We'll do that.
Hey, John.
Thank you all. Once again, next meeting is Thursday, February 15th, 2024 at 9:30 a.m. Meeting is adjourned at 10:53 a.m.